In Ramayana, Trijata, though belonging to Asur Jati, emerged as the protector of the goddess Sita in Asok Vatika. And this very benign nature of Trijata can be equated with the benign power of the Yakshinis. So, Yakshinis, you read about them in history, but you don't know that their characters are there in the different episodes of the Indian history. And that's what you get to know through this book, A Journey Through Indian Art and Culture. अभिवादन स्वीकार कीजिए नीरज राव का कल्चर क्वांटम के इस अध्याय में. एंड दिस एपिसोड इज बेस्ड ऑन हाउ टू मेक मैक्सिमम यूज ऑफ दिस बुक इन योर बेनिफिट when you are preparing for and when you are going for UPSC Civil Services exam, state PCS exams, and so as any other exam where there is a syllabus of art and culture, ancient and medieval history. सबसे पहले आप सभी का हार्दिक धन्यवाद for making this book a big success in a very shorter span of time. And moreover, this episode is all about addressing your queries related to the book. जैसे कि आप लोग पूछते हो कि इस बुक को नोट्स के साथ कैसे कंबाइन करें. आप लोगों में से कुछ लोगों ने क्लासेस देखी हैं, कुछ लोगों ने क्लासेस नहीं की हैं, बहुत सारे लोगों ने इनफैक्ट क्लासेस नहीं की हैं. एंड इस बुक को कैसे कल्चर क्वांटम के वीडियोस के साथ कंबाइन करें. तो इन सभी सवालों के जवाब देने के लिए आज हम यहाँ उपस्थित हैं. With all the important themes which are being repeatedly asked in the exam, be it the prelim stage of exam or mains stage of exam. तो जो इंपॉर्टेंट थीम्स हैं उसमें से बहुत महत्वपूर्ण है आर्किटेक्चर एंड स्कल्पचर. It's a very important topic, and almost more than 45% of the questions are being asked from this particular section in each and every year exam. The next important topic is language and literature. It has been the favorite of UPSC from last 7-8 years, and a good chunk of the question have been asked. इसके अलावा बुद्धिज्म और जैनिज्म भी एक बहुत महत्वपूर्ण टॉपिक है. मैंने नहीं देखा है पिछले 10 सालों में कि UPSC का पेपर बिना बुद्धिज्म और जैनिज्म के क्वेश्चंस के हैं. तो हर साल आप एक्सपेक्ट कर सकते हैं. उसके अलावा पेंटिंग इज़ एन इम्पॉर्टेंट टॉपिक, दो द नंबर ऑफ द क्वेश्चंस हैव बीन लेस एज कम्पेयर टू द अदर टॉपिक्स आई मेंशन. उसके अलावा that classical dance, classical music, then Bhakti Sufi movement and Indian philosophy. These are some of the important topics which are repeatedly asked. So now, how this book will be helpful in that? So let me address the very first query that many of you have asked कि notes पढ़ें या किताब को पढ़ें. So आप लोगों में से बहुत लोगों ने क्लासेस किए हैं, उन्होंने नोट्स के फ़ायदे भी महसूस किए हैं, देखे भी हैं एग्ज़ाम में कि काफ़ी हद तक वो क्वेश्चंस को सॉल्व करने में सक्षम रहे हैं. पर रीडिंग अ बुक इज़ समथिंग विच इज़ अ चेरी ऑन द टॉप ऑफ द केक, एंड यू मस्ट रीड अ बुक. मोर ओवर, you know that there is always a limitation of the number of the classes in whichever institute, whatever place you are reading art and culture. Nobody can go beyond a certain limit of the classes. And if it comes to the in-depth analysis of the subject, so I don't think that any number of the classes would be justified. So in that scenario, आप क्या कर सकते हैं? In that scenario, you have to pick a book. But then the problem with the books is that bombardment of the information leads to confusion, and in fact you tend to not retain anything from the book in spite of going through so many revisions. बार बार आप रिवाइज करने के बाद भी you are not able to retain the information. This is mainly due to there is no story, there is no background in the books that you might refer, and this is how this book is very different. That as those who have studied from me, they know कि I give you a background story and I tell you the story so that in that story you are able to remember some of the strategic facts. And in the same manner this book has been written. Moreover, there are n number of the topics which cannot be done in the classes has been very well covered in this book. So in the beginning of this video, I told Yakshini part. Now you have studied Yakshini is having the character of demi-goddess, but then correlating it with the characters of the Indian ancient history is something which is very valuable, and that's how you will be developing a holistic understanding of the Indian art, Indian culture in a much bigger way. I would go a little overboard at this particular juncture. It's not only helpful to the aspirants who are preparing for the exam, but anybody who is curious to know Indian art and culture can definitely refer this book. And another thing, that we have written this book from the perspective so that even the university students, college students also can get benefit from it, and they can definitely utilize the information in good answer writing. Big feather in your hat when you read this book, that in the interviews, when you are asked something about your background, when you are asked something related to the regional culture of your place, and if you have a story to tell, definitely it will impress the interviewer. So see it from that perspective. And this book owns these all stories. So let's have a discussion on the very important chapter, architecture and sculpture, which I said, which almost covers 45% of the syllabus, particularly in civil services and also state PCS examinations. As far as UPSC civil service is concerned, there were 15 plus questions in the prelim stage of exam in last 10 years, which means that near about 1.5 question every year is there from the architecture and sculpture. As far as the mains examination is concerned, 10 plus questions were there in last 10 years in the mains examination. So average in mains examination from the culture portion is 3 questions and 1 is coming from the architecture. So let's explore that how the book is helpful to you in both the stages of exam. So as far as all the important facts and the figures which were existing in the ancient and medieval India from the perspective of the architecture and sculpture, it's been there in this book, and then you'll be able to answer all the questions in the prelim stage of examination, and then moreover, you'll also be able to handle all the mains question. A question which was asked in mains examination related to the continuity in the Indian culture. The essence of question was that ancient Indian civilization differs from those of the Egypt, Mesopotamia and Greece, that it is continuing without a breakdown. Comment. So now, the very first thing that we have done in the book, that from where we have started, culture continuity conundrum. There you understand that why Indian culture continued and why the rest of the cultures, they were not able to survive. As far as the fact and figure are concerned, there are a number of the books which address those fact and figure. But then how come a journey through Indian art and culture is different from those books? The one thing is that there is a background, which I'm repeating time and again. There is a background so that you know the entire story of a thing, that how it evolved, how it happened, and what is the importance of each and every element which is existing. For example, when you read temple architecture, so in temple architecture, there could be a rote learning that there are these parts, that parts, like there is a sikhar, there is a viman, then there is a kapot, there is a bhitti. But then do you know that how these are created and on what concepts these are created, what they represent? If you know that Garbhagriha is the birth chamber and how it is associated with the things mentioned in the Hindu literature. Apart from it, Garbhagriha is also the abode of the god. And then the towers which are named like Sikhar or Viman, they are a form of Kailas Parvat or a form of Meru Parvat. Then moreover, what is the importance of Vastu Shastra in temple making? Though in regular life we do talk about Vastu Shastra while making our houses, but then once you get to know that how it is associated with the auspicious aspects of the 5 elements, so then it will create a bigger impact, not only in your exam, but other times also to continue. There are already books in the market on art and culture where important facts and figures are mentioned. It's not to discredit them about their facts and figure, but then how this book stands out among all those books. Let me give you one example. जब भी आप पढ़ते हो टेम्पल आर्किटेक्चर टॉपिक आता है, और टेम्पल आर्किटेक्चर टॉपिक इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट इन बोथ द स्टेजेस ऑफ एग्जाम, बट rote learning may not help you, bombardment of fact may not help you, but then when you are forced to think that if Garbhagriha is why it is called as mother's womb, what is the reason behind it? So then you will be remembering it, and in fact it will be a memory for life. So where you find this fact, where you find this analysis, where you find these all stories, that's what makes this book different from the others. It's just one example which I have given you. But then have you ever given a thought that why towers are created on the temples? Towers are believed to be the representation of the holy mountains like Kailas Parvat and Meru Parvat, mentioned in the Hindu literature. Then apart from it, there are the different parts of the temple, why they are created in a certain way. And in our daily life, we often talk about Vastu Shastra, Vastu principle, but what exactly is Vastu Shastra? And what role it plays in creation of the temple, so as in today's time, in the creation of the houses also, with a balanced element. So I don't think that it is only necessary for the students, but also for the general public to know that Vastu Shastra is important for the balance in the house. So what you note down from this, it's not just important for the students, but also for people who are curious to know about these all aspects. ये तो बात रही prelims examination की. What about the mains examination? There are the questions whereby students feel that these questions were most dreaded question of the exam, most difficult question of the exam. I remember one of the topper, in fact rank 1, went on to say that looking at the culture questions, she felt that this year it will be difficult to get interview call. But then there is always a way to handle these type of question. And most important is not to run after so many books, but to limit your resource to one book, and then that book must be able to address your all needs of mains examination. For example, in 2015, a question was asked, how ancient Indian civilization differs from those of Egyptian civilization, Mesopotamian civilization, and Greek civilization, in the sense that it is continuing without a breakdown. So, this question gave nightmares to many, but I don't think after reading this book or these type of the question will give you any nightmare. We start our book from this discussion itself. In fact, one of the very important discussion in the realm of the culture is India and China, why they are considered as a continuing tradition and civilization. It's addressed in the very first part of the chapter, architecture and sculpture itself. Similarly, there has been n number of the questions from Chola architecture, Gupta architecture, Pallava architecture. And if you look at the mains paper of this year, so a question has been asked on the Pallava art and Chola art, their contribution. So this particular question can be very well addressed from the two chapters which are there in the book, architecture and sculpture. And one of highlight of our book is that we have not neglected UNESCO heritage. In fact, this is one topic which people do cover in rush and just mention here and there. But if you look at last 5-year paper of UPSC, there has been constantly a question from the UNESCO heritage structure, and it is there in the prelims examination also, and it is there in the mains examination also. So you can find a very good answer of these two questions from both the chapters, that is UNESCO and architecture. Another important topic in exam is painting, and as far as the painting topic is concerned, we have so many illustrations about the paintings and then also the intrinsic details about the paintings, though these details are not something that you will feel boring, but in fact this is light read, and when it is combined with the pictures, it will create a picturesque memory also. Moreover, small background stories are also there in the painting, so that it helps you in remembering the facts, and so as it will also help you if at all any question in mains examination is coming. Though from this topic only 2 questions have been there in mains examination in last 8 years. Moving on, the next very important topic is language and literature. And if I go into last 7-year paper, there has been constantly 2 questions every year, particularly in the prelim stage of exam from language and literature. And this is a very wide topic, which includes the literature of Sanskrit, then Pali literature, Prakrit literature, so as the other classical language literature like Tamil, Odia, Kannada, etc. Then how you will be approaching these all topics. Sometimes it seems that they are bombardment of information, so many facts and figures you will have to remember. Once again, I'm emphasizing that any fact and figure, if you know that what is the theme of the book, you'll always tend to remember. In fact, it will be not very difficult to remember the fact. So for example, suppose if you have to remember the book Kumar Sambhavam, when you read the small story of the Kumar Sambhavam in the book, you'll always be able to remember. Similarly, when you are going into Pattinapalai, this is one very important text in Tamil literature or Sangam literature, but then you know that story of the Karikala And why he was called as Karikala? Because his leg was charred, and in Tamil language, Karikala means charred leg. And then you'll be able to remember the information if you know the story. So that's what makes it very different. And there is a flow in the book. And there is a very good classification. I would not blame on others, but what I have seen in the market, what I have seen in many of the books is that they don't have the clarity on the evolution of the literature and a right classification. So very good classification of the literature is there, crystal clear information is there. You yourself will have to explore to know more about it. So as far as this topic is concerned, you can completely rely on it, and I can go a little overboard in saying this topic is unparalleled as compared to all the other books which are there in the market. So get the benefit of the topic from this book. Then moving on to the next topic, which is also very important topic in both the stages of exam, and that is basically Buddhism, Jainism. Very important. And in this book, Buddhism topic, for example, what ways we have written? So we have written in the three themes, Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha. Buddha covers the topic of the Buddha's life, starting from his birth until his death, which is Mahaparinirvan. What includes Dham? So Dham includes all his doctrines, all his postulations, and all his teachings to the people. And then Sangha. Sangha is what he has left for his disciples, and moreover how the disciples of the Buddha have carried forwarded his legacy with their postulates, with their theories, with their philosophies. And then moreover, we have not limited this topic to only this part, but also how the Buddhism had made traverse to different parts of the world, particularly Tibet. It will be an enlightening read to go through the Tibet episode. So there are many queries, there must be many queries in your mind. That is, who is Dalai Lama? Who is Lama? Who is Panchen Lama? So some of the answers, in fact, many of the answers you can find in this book. Then moving on to Jainism. In Jainism, the way the topic has been written, there is a flow, there is a rhythm. You'll be able to understand their philosophies in a better way. How the soul and the karma has a bondage with each other. So a very simple, crystal clear information is there which you can understand, and if you go through combined with the previous year paper, easily you can correct those questions. So moving on, next very important topic in the exam is Bhakti and Sufi movement, and I assure you that this would also be an enlightening read, not just from the perspective of gaining factual information but also gaining the knowledge of these traditions. So coming to the Bhakti topic, it covers all the aspects of their contribution to the Indian society, and apart from how they emphasized on the practice of devotion rather than sacrificial practices. Apart from it, you also get to know some small stories like bickerings of Akbar with Tulsidas and how Tulsidas was able to impress Akbar. Then there are many other stories. And apart from it, one of the question which UPSC emphasizes particularly in Bhakti and Sufi tradition is the contemporaries of the emperors. So that also will be addressed in this particular part. Coming to Sufi tradition, it is going to be a very nice read, I can assure you for this. And there are the stories that how Sufi tradition can be traced back directly to the teachings of the Prophet himself. And apart from it, you can know the story of the guy who said Anal Haq. Then apart from it, the famous Sufi saints of India, why a particular name was given to them, like Chirag-e-Dili, like Fariduddin Ganje Sakar, whose name has a word Sakar which means sugar. So why he's called like this? And then you also get to know about the extreme penance of the Sufi saints like Chillai Makus. So to know these stories, just read it. But I'll tell you something interesting. अभी हाल फिलहाल में एक बहुत ही popular song आया था सकल बन, which was basically in the Netflix series हीरा मंडी directed by संजय लीला भंसाली. तो आप सोच रहे होंगे कि ये गाना किसी नए व्यक्ति ने लिखा होगा. असल में इसकी कहानी यह है कि ये गाना अमीर खुसरो ने लिखा था अपने गुरु निज़ामुद्दीन औलिया के लिए, और लिखा भी था बसंत पंचमी के अवसर पर, जब लोग पीला फूल लेकर सरस्वती माता को चढ़ाने के लिए ले जा रहे थे. अमीर खुसरो ने उस समय इंक्वायर किया कि आप किसके लिए लेकर जा रहे हैं, एंड दे आर गोइंग टू ऑफर दिस पर्टिकुलर फ्लावर टू गॉडेस सरस्वती. तो उन्होंने भी सरसों का फूल उठाकर अपने गुरु अपने नॉलेज के द्योतक निज़ामुद्दीन औलिया को दे दिया और ये गाना उस समय लिखा। आगे बढ़ते हैं कुछ और भी इम्पॉर्टेंट टॉपिक्स के साथ। सो जैसे कि अदर इम्पॉर्टेंट टॉपिक्स आर इंडियन क्लासिकल डांस, इंडियन म्यूजिक एंड फोक डांस एंड मार्शल डांस. As far as the classical music is concerned, every 4th year or 5th year you can expect a question, and some contemporary nature questions are also asked. Folk dance एक ऐसा टॉपिक है जहाँ particularly in state PCS there is a very high relevance of this topic, and particularly उस स्टेट के सभी फोक डांस को आपको जानना चाहिए जिस स्टेट का आप एग्ज़ाम दे रहे हो. So I can say it safely and without a doubt the most widest coverage of folk dance is been there in this book. But then you have to be a little careful because that you may see that number of the pages are more. Don't see it from this perspective. See it from the perspective of a particular exam and cover a particular state at that point of time. That way it will be quite helpful. So we are not saying that you have to go with all the topics at one point of time, but be selective in a one particular exam. Suppose आप यूपी का एग्जाम देने जा रहे हो, तो then you cover all the folk dances of UP. Then suppose if you are going to give exam of Rajasthan PCS, cover all the folk dances of Rajasthan PCS. अभी हाल फिलहाल में तेलंगाना एंड आंध्रा का PCS एग्जाम होने वाला है, and we are very much hopeful that they will be asking Andhra Natyam question, and maybe in future Andhra Natyam can be given a classical dance status also. So then if you know a little bit about it, this will be highly helpful. Moving to classical dance topic, which is actually very important in your UPSC Civil Services Mains examination and prelims examination. So in prelims, every third year they do ask a question from the classical dance. Let me tell you that one small story, that how you can remember those personalities, those important details, and rest of the things you can get from the book. But then I'll tell you in this topic one small story. You must have heard about, or you must have read about, one of the very famous exponent of the Odyssey, Guru Kelu Charan Mohapatra. So when he was a child, he used to be there in the Ras Leelas. That Ras Leelas are the depiction of the Lord Krishna's love affair with the Gopikas. While playing the role of the Gopika, he got too immersed into the character that after the end of the play, he went to railway station and asked to the station master a ticket to Vrindavan. Station master assured him of a ticket, but rather than giving him a ticket, he dialed his parents. And then his parents came and he was taken to home. So though he was not able to go to Vrindavan, but in his heart he started his journey towards Lord Krishna, and he emerged as the greatest teacher of the Odyssey. So this is just one story, one glimpse. You can get many, and I don't think that after listening to this story you will forget it. Craft is another topic which we have given a special attention in this book, though not many questions are asked from this topic on a regular basis, but then you never know that when UPSC will stump you. So in last 8 years there have been 2 questions. In this topic you don't need to be fearful of the pages. It's just a story. For example, if you're reading Phulkari, which is one of the craft which is used by the women of Punjab, but then it has a traditional association and it has a religious value also. For example, whenever a woman is giving birth to a son, so after 11 days when she is moving out of the house, she is going to a religious place, so she will carry a Phulkari with her. She will be draping a Phulkari on her body. It has a religious importance. Similarly, when you read about the Panjadari in Punjab, so Panjadari is one of the very important part of the trousseau of the brides, and they carry it to their newly wedded houses. And moreover, the tradition is that they will have to create this Panjadari at their own. So it has a traditional value. When you get to know about these stories, I hope you'll be able to remember. Similarly, so you all must have heard about गंगौर माता. आपको पता भी होगा कि गंगौर माता के आइडल्स बनते हैं, बट ये बनाए कैसे जाते हैं? जब होलिका दहन होता है, और होलिका दहन के बाद जो बचा खुचा जला हुआ राख होता है, उसी राख से गंगौर माता की मूर्तियां बनाई जाती हैं और उसको रंग पेंट किया जाता है. गंगौर माता को माता पार्वती का रूप माना जाता है और औरतें इसे अच्छे वैवाहिक जीवन के लिए बनाती हैं. जाते जाते आपको एक और टॉपिक के बारे में बताऊंगा. वैसे तो कुछ और टॉपिक्स भी हैं, बट when it comes to Indian philosophy, simplification has been the problem. I hope कि आप जब इस किताब को पढ़ेंगे तो आपको बहुत ही सिंप्लीफाइड मैनर में ऑर्थोडॉक्स फिलॉसफी और हेटेरोडॉक्स फिलॉसफी समझ में आएगा, और आप उसको एसोसिएट कर पाएंगे कि हर फिलॉसफी में that why there is a discussion on salvation, soul, birth, rebirth and belief in the God, non-belief in the God. So let me tell you one thing, कि हम नॉर्मल जीवन में जो आस्तिक और नास्तिक का मीनिंग लेते हैं, in the realm of philosophy, this is not the meaning of astic and nastic. It's totally different. And this has to be understood for not going in an incorrect direction while attempting the questions of exam. Last but not the least, one of the unique feature of this book, I would like to explain to you, that is basically, this is Can Me feature. So this is basically AI buddy. And as you all know that we are in the age of the artificial intelligence. And you also must be using many artificial intelligence devices or applications. But what is the unique part of it? That when you scan this particular portion, so it will guide you to one WhatsApp channel, eFlow. And there, if you're writing any question of the mains examination, for example, within 15 to 20 seconds, it will give you one of the best model answer. And it solves one more problem, which is generally existing in the AI. When you use other AI tools, they get confused because there are n number of the resources to refer. But the model answer of your question, this AI will search in the book itself and then it will give you the best answer. So that's how limiting the AI has made it more effective. Apart from it, you can create your own question. You can put into that particular eFlow app and you can get a best model answer. In fact, many a times I hope you all have these type of the queries कि हमारे answers evaluate कौन करेगा. तो आप खुद इससे भी evaluate कर सकते हो कि आपने जो लिखा है और AI ने आपको क्या answer दिया है. You can basically compare between the two. Then another very important thing I would like to tell you, please do not forget, since this video is also going on Culture Quantum, because we are creating a playlist oriented towards the examination time and again. So have a look at those all videos, and moreover, many of the concepts you must have studied, maybe you must not have understood, but when you look at the videos, so you'll be able to understand. For example, in UNESCO heritage topic, we have covered so many big temples of India like Hoysalas and then Pallavas. So for example, Hoysala question was asked in the mains examination, and we have covered the temple from the same location, the Hoysaleswar temple, so that creates a better understanding of the subject. So in a way, you have to complement this book along with the videos. And I don't think that after doing these two exercises, you will be compromised in art and culture. In fact, you will be one of the best performers in the exam in art and culture. With this all, I would like to thank you for watching and for also once again making this book a big success in a shorter span of time. Very thank you to all of you, and I hope the unprecedented way you have shown your love to us, this book will help you in unprecedented way to get success in any exam that you are appearing where there is a syllabus of art and culture and ancient history. Thank you. So stay tuned to Culture Quantum, and please do not forget to purchase the book and get the benefits of this book.